We're going to start with lying down, so get yourself on that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, people do.
Oh, this is the VMIP class.
So we're going to start with lying down, so get yourself a cushion and some mats. So get yourself everything that you need to meditate, but we're going to start with lying down. So, and this we can all come this side of the room. And let's have heads, what is that? Where?
Yeah.
We'll have heads west, we'll lie down facing this way. So this is your model posture, lie down like that.
With serene, emphasis on the serenity.
Yeah, emphasis on the serenity. So just one cushion, just on the bony part of your head. You might need to cooperate with each other and move together a bit. No funny games.
Yeah. I'm just
We're going to start with lying down. So
you end up in your face. So you'll need to spread out and come out into the whole room. So those of you at the front, come right to the front. So when you're ready, let's. So you want to have your back on the ground, your cushion just on the bony part of your head, so that you can reach around and touch your neck, so that your neck is not back in the line. You might need to shuffle together a bit more because there's a lot more people coming in. So think sort of a large bed and a degree of intimacy that you didn't expect. So you might want to shuffle together a bit. In fact, you will definitely need to. So you'll need to shuffle this way a bit. Everybody shuffle towards the shrine. It stays there. It needs to be this hard. That was those, team building exercises. Can you actually lie down in the room? Yeah. There's lots of space. So let's have heads west this way. And then as soon as you've got a space, congratulations, and just have the cushion on the bony part of your head. Yeah, so come all the way forward so that other people can get in easily. This is like something on The Apprentice where you say you're fired. Yeah, so just so we come forward. So there's some space down here, and there's space on the other side of the shrine. There's always space over there. If anybody's watching online, you could lie down as well. You might have a bit more space than we do here. There is a space over here. Dario, why don't you come over? Oh yeah, why don't you come here, Dario? Try not to tread on anyone. If you can. Good. And there's space over here as well. Okay, so just this is really a chance just to stop. So yeah, make sure you've got the space you need. And then as soon as you've got a space, yeah, lie down that way. That's better. Doors.
Yeah, yeah. If I were you, lie down this way. You can lie with a different direction. Otherwise you won't get in. Okay, so as soon as you settle down, just closing your eyes. And all I'm going to do is lead us through a bit of a relaxation. And mainly what you need just now is a sort of bardo between what you've been doing today and the calm. And one of the things we notice is people sneak out at tea break. So you're welcome to do that, but we're going to bar the doors this time. So I'd really recommend that you just use this as a space to sort of stop, but you're just going to just be here, you know, rather than always be thinking how to do the next thing. So see if you can just feel the weight of your body on your back. So you can really feel that you're not actually looking into a screen just now. You're not scrolling through Instagram. And the way to start relaxing is to bring your attention into your back. In fact, as soon as you feel your back on the ground, it starts to send a different message to your body saying that you can now relax. So really all you need to do is keep on noticing that your back is on the ground and your body will be relaxed. And yeah, as I say, I'll just lead us through a bit of a relaxation. And if you fall asleep, it's probably because you need to. So first of all, just noticing the weight of your head on the cushion. And your head is much heavier than you tend to imagine. So you can feel the full weight of your head on the cushion. If you've got two cushions, that would be a bit too much, so just have one cushion. And then see if you can soften your face. As soon as you soften your eyes, your mind starts to quieten down. So softening your brow, softening your eyes. See if you can relax your mouth and your jaw. So you can feel your weight and heaviness of your head on the cushion. And your eyes are soft, your brows are soft. And you can even imagine letting go of your neck, so that the full weight of your head rests down the collar. So your head is heavy. And it's a relief to let go of your body, to not have to hold it up against gravity. And then see if you can feel your whole weight, the whole of your back on the floor. It's as if your back has got sort of four corners, two shoulder blades and your hips on the floor. And you can imagine that those four corners are moving away from each other so that your back broadens and lengthens on the floor. And that's what would naturally happen as you relax. Your back would broaden out, lengthen out, soften. And you can't make that happen, but if you imagine it happening, it'll have that effect. So your head is heavy on the cushion and your back is heavy on the ground. Feel like your back is spreading out on the ground. You can help your head relax by softening your eyes, softening your jaw. And your back can be heavy and warm on the floor. And you can help your back relax by softening your belly. See if you can let go of your belly as best as you can. So the whole back rests on the ground. Your head is heavy on the cushion. Your back is heavy on the ground. Your back is warm. Your belly is soft and your arms are heavy. So you have this sense of your whole system calming down, quietening down. So as you lie here, everything's just calming down. Your back is warm on the floor. Your arms are heavy. Your legs are heavy. Your eyes are soft. And just enjoying these last few minutes lying down, so just noticing again your head heavy on the cushion. Your back spreading out on the ground. Your arms heavy. Your legs heavy. And then in a moment I'll ask you to roll towards the shrine and lay on your side. And then we're going to get up and go into a period of meditation, a short period of meditation. So what I'd like to do, like I said last week, is see if you can keep your attention in your body, particularly in the back of your body, and see if you can, in a moment, roll onto your side, then set up into meditation without trying to get to the end of the movement. So you're just staying with yourself all the time. So in that way you're kind of starting to meditate. So when you're ready, rolling on your side towards the shrine. And then just stay on your side for a moment. And then when you're ready, setting yourself up with all the cushions you need. But remember, there's no rush. You try and stay with your experience as you move. Make sure you've got the right cushions. As you know, as you come here regularly, you start to know which cushions are best, which different sizes you need. And setting yourself up in your posture. So you want your hands supported. Cushions. And as soon as you set yourself up for meditation, closing your eyes. You don't need to think in terms of changing gear. It's not like we're now doing something completely different from relaxing. And again, the same principles hold. So the more you can feel the weight of your body dropping down through the cushions, through the chair, through the floor, the more you can do that, the more you'll relax. You don't need to do much at first. Just notice that your weight is supported by the cushions, by the floor. And of course your weight is dropping down into the floor underneath you. And just by bringing that to mind starts to change your physical sense. And again, you can soften your eyes and your brow. As soon as you do that, your mind starts to quieten down a bit. But you'll notice that as soon as you sort of take your attention off something, it kind of tense up again. So you can keep softening your eyes. But you're not doing all this in a sort of self-consciously kind of spiritual way. You're just sitting there, like a dog might sit there. And first of all, just sit. And all you need to do at first is just keep, as best as you can, bringing your attention into this sensation of the weight dropping down, the support of the cushions or the chair, the support of the floor. But for the moment, that's all we're going to do. So we're not even really meditating yet. So your mind will go off, and that's all right. That's just what your mind does. When you notice it, just come back to this very direct sensation of your weight on the cushions of the chair, the pressure of your knees or your feet on the floor, and this sense of the weight dropping down into the ground beneath you. So you're just giving yourself time for your whole system to quieten down, to calm down. That's all. Weight of your body dropping down into the ground. And then as you sit there, start to just bring in an awareness of your breath. So your weight's dropping down, you're still in this state of relaxation, your whole system is given time to calm down. And you just notice that as that happens, your body is breathing. As best as you can, just follow a few breaths in and out. Coming back to the weight of your body on the cushions, the chair. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming out of the meditation. Okay, so just sit comfortably, don't carry on sitting in your meditation posture. So, I don't know, how many of you were here last week? Show of hands, oh, yeah, quite a few, that's good. So, I'm doing this series of 3 classes, exploring, you leaving? You can't get out there. Don't go through the fire exit. Exploring, really effectively exploring bhakti, exploring devotion. And anyone who has been around me at all in the last week will know that all I seem to be talking about is going to India, as if nobody had ever done it before. It's the first time I've been to India. A lot of my friends are surprised that I haven't been before. And I went to the Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, which is where the Buddha was enlightened. And as I said last week, we sat and worshipped a tree. It was just wonderful. This beautiful Bodhi tree that is supported by all these stakes to keep it there. And I felt and feel that being in Bodh Gaya gave me a new understanding of the importance of devotion. Yeah? And it's interesting to try to teach that here, because our modern westernized idea is we'd like to do the meditation a bit because that sort of feels kind of slightly respectable and sort of slightly Western, and so you do it on your own with your eyes closed. It's not embarrassing. I'm writing a book with Jan Archer at the moment, and I was writing about Sam Harris, about whom you'll know probably more than I do. But his teacher was a Tibetan teacher, Tibetan Dzogchen teacher, and he had this direct transmission from this teacher. And Harris said that he was trying to pluck the diamond from the dunghill of esoteric religion, which is very rude, considering he'd learnt a lot from this teacher. Yeah, I was very sort of struck by that idea, and it's not Harris's fault. It's very much a Western idea that we want the sort of, the diamond, that we want the insight, we want the transcendental experience, but we don't want all this messy dunghill of religion, as if religious people were just all kind of superstitious, whatever, which is certainly not true of his teacher. Basically what he means is I want a meditation that fits in with my secular, humanistic, secular, pseudo-scientific view. Yeah. Now, meditation has never been, until recently, meditation has never been taught out of context of devotion. It's interesting. One of the earliest things to come to the West was Zen Buddhism, and Zen Buddhism was actually quite consciously marketed for the West. If you went back to Japan and did a retreat there, it's very, very devotional. They chant the name of Amitabha, which is the figure on the shrine. They do all kinds of very, very devotional practices. But all that was sort of quietly separated. Then they taught, particularly just sitting meditation for modern Western people who want to get away from the dunghill of religion. Now, there is something in that instinct, but I'll come back to that in a minute. But what I experienced being in Bodh Gaya was this very strong sense of devotion. Yeah, and of course, I was there with. There were literally thousands of Tibetan monks there. There were Korean nuns. There were Thai bhikkhus. There were. It felt like the whole world was there, and the whole world was devoted to this tree. Yeah, we circumambulate the temple, including these little old Tibetan ladies who were just sort of glowing with devotion. And in that atmosphere, I can't tell you how beautiful it is. It's very difficult to describe, and already starting to slightly lose touch with it. I keep on trying to keep in touch with it in my own meditation. But in that atmosphere, our Western kind of ironic, detached, rather sophisticated, rather superior idea of religion, and we have a sort of natural anti-religious feeling. My oldest daughter, she's 18, and she's already, wants to destroy religion. She's never been touched by religion. Wouldn't know religion if it dropped on her. But we sort of have this sort of, we're cleverer than all that. The great thing about secular materialism is it makes you feel cleverer than anyone else that's been before you, which is a bit of a bonus. Otherwise it's pretty grim, because it means that when you die there's nothing and you're destroyed, but at least you get to feel clever. You get something out of it. But in that context, that sort of westernized kind of sort of innate superiority especially to the devotional sense. I can't tell you, it felt completely crass, like embarrassingly crass. Yeah. So, for instance, I've got this mala. I bought this mala because I was so struck by the devotional atmosphere. I thought I need a bigger mala here. You always want kit, don't you? Well, whatever it is, there's always a kit, isn't it? Anyway, let's not go there. But I went. At the Mahabodhi temple, there's this little shrine to the left before you go into the temple itself. Tiny thing with up some steps with this sort of lino flooring. And there's a very small image of Tara. Tara is a female Buddha figure, effectively, that represents active compassion. It's clearly ancient. It's got all this gold on it, but it's very, very simple, but very, very ancient, and nearly always it was full of Tibetan monks doing rituals to this figure. And I went in on one time when it wasn't crowded, and as I bowed to the figure and touched my head on the ground, which is traditionally what Buddhists have always done, we in the West do this rather absurd little nod in the direction of the shrine. Traditionally you touch your head on the ground 4 times. As I did that, I touched my mala on the ground, and this young Tibetan, I don't think he was just young Tibetan, said, no, don't do that. Don't touch your mala on the ground. I don't know whether I can get this across, but I was so struck by the refinement of that. He was living in a world where things were sacred, and where a mala, which is where you tell your mantra of your Buddha and Bodhisattva that you devote yourself to, is a sacred object. Is not a piece of chunky jewellery, and you shouldn't touch it on the ground. But his response was nothing like our Western sort of sophistication. It was just like, oh no, you just don't do that. And I thought, gosh, I've got so much, even though I've been practicing the Buddhism for many, many years, I've got so much to learn about the absolute basics, which is this devotional, religious sense, which is the sense that I'm living in a world that's alive, where even an object like a mala, which is these are lotus seeds, that's a sacred thing. You don't touch that on the ground. Like we all circumambulate in a particular direction. Actually, quite a lot of people didn't, but you're supposed to go around in one direction. And this was children, actually quite a few dogs, children and old people and monks and everyone. So what I'm wanting to do is try to talk more about how meditation and Buddhism needs to arise out of something much bigger than, not bigger than Buddhism, but much more, sort of pre-Buddhistic almost, which is this devotional sense. This sense that all human beings used to have and would take for granted and would see as an ineluctable fact, that we live in a universe that is alive, not dead. It's only us modern westernized people who've decided that we live in a random universe full of dead parts. That things are sacred and important, and that the natural response to living in that universe is devotion. Yeah? Irrespective of religion, this is sort of before religion. Yeah, like in Nepal, we went to Nepal as well, and in Nepal, Hinduism and Buddhism is very, very mixed up, so you can't really tell what's what. Somebody said to us, "Oh yes, I'm a Buddhist. I'm also a Hindu." I wanted to say, "No, you're not," but one is polite. But what that devotional sense is, and it's a sense that is, I think, foundational to human well-being, is that I'm living in a universe that's infinitely larger than me, that it's not all about me. Yeah, there's something much more important, much more interesting, something to be worshipped even, that's going on. And I'm part of that, intimately part of that, even importantly part of that, that there's some much greater matter, that I'm part of something infinitely larger. All religious faiths really are bounded on that premise, aren't they? And you can see how that's then talked about in lots of different ways, some of them helpful, some of them frankly unhelpful, for me especially when you end up with things like God as creating that infinitely larger. The metaphor of God is really a metaphor for, I feel I'm in contact with, as it were, something infinitely larger that seems, as it were, intelligent. In fact, super intelligent. Yeah. Buddhism doesn't believe in any kind of God or deity, but that sense of being part of something infinitely larger is foundational to human societies, and always has been, until literally the modern period, beginning with the Reformation in Europe. We've lost this sense, I think, all the way back in the Reformation. Before then, people did pilgrimages actually are becoming more popular again now, but people did pilgrimages all the time. They were a given part of your life. That's just what you did. I feel from being in India that we need to reimagine that devotional context, if nothing else, so that we don't end up thinking that meditation, for instance, when we're meditating in a class like this, it's all up to me. And, am I good at it? Can I do it? How did it go today? Was it as good as yesterday? All of that, which is very common for Westernized people, is very, very trivial. It then all becomes about me. Carl Jung said, we have fallen from the roof of the medieval cathedral into the abyss of self. And that you couldn't put our modern Westernized situation better. We have fallen from the roof of the medieval cathedral into the abyss of self. What we worship now is me and my needs and so on, yeah? And that is making us very unhappy. It has got definite values because you can see, I could even see at Bodh Gaya that some of that devotional instinct is very easy to abuse. Like there are all these lay practitioners, I think they were Korean or something, touching the feet of a monk, because that's what you do traditionally to reverence a monk, and he was on his mobile looking away from them. You can see how it goes horribly wrong. So that our westernized kind of critique of superstition, irrationality, anti-science, all that sort of thing is valid, but we've massively overdone it. We're now weirdly heady, like weirdly heady. You saw those elderly Tibetan women, and there's something incredibly beautiful about them and radiant and grown up in a way that I'm afraid we're not. By comparison, we're ironic, sophisticated, stepped back from experience, overly heady, overly analytical, extrinsic, and so on. We've lost a sense, I think, that we're living in a universe that wants to be worshipped. And you might not go for, spirits and so forth, and Buddhism tends to take the spirit world kind of for granted as just part of the natural world. But any real experience of this world around us, it asks for that kind of reverence, asks for that kind of devotion. So coming back from that, I feel we need to rediscover something of that feeling. And I want to say more about this in the second half, and we'll see if we can do it, because we need to reimagine it, which is weird because you're not supposed to do it self-consciously. One of the things I loved about being in Bodh Gaya particularly is, although I've been practicing Buddhism and meditation for 35 years, something like that, a bit long, actually, nearly 40 years, I've never been in a Buddhist world where I can put my kesa on and go to the temple, and it's not a statement, nobody even turns their head, because all these Tibetan monks are going with you, and the Thai bhikkhus are going, and the Korean nuns are all going, and that's just what you do. That's what religion was meant to be. It wasn't supposed to be a kind of eccentric personal choice. Do I do Christian, Gnosticism, Islam, or Buddhism? It was just supposed to be a world you grew up in, and then gradually you thought, actually, there is something very important about this, and I'll go further with it. Yeah? But we've lost that from the westernized world, and we're losing it everywhere else. So what I think we'll do now, just for a minute, we'll go back to meditation. But instead of thinking this meditation is up to me, and here I am, this abyss of self, because you see, Zizek is right that the Polish philosopher, when he says that Western Buddhism is just a sort of perfect fit with modern consumerism. You rush around and do your shopping, and then you do a few deep breaths, and you do that, and you can do a bit more shopping. He's that critique is right, except for he doesn't understand Buddhism. What he's thinking is Western Buddhism is really a very degenerate tradition. Yeah. So let's just imagine, and remember, all of this thing about devotion is an imaginative space that we're entering into, a heart space, not a head space. Let's see if we can do that, and then we'll have a cup of tea. So as soon as you're ready, closing your eyes again. And what we typically do is that we think that we need to go inside ourselves to meditate. But we could just imagine that we just open up to consciousness around us, to a world that we could be devoted to and that we could worship. So just imaginatively imagine that you're opening up in a world that's not governed by dead matter, but is a mind, a world of mind, a world of consciousness. And again, keep on grounding your imagination in your body, so you keep coming back to the weight of your body on the ground like we were before. So keep on doing that for a little bit, and then just imagine that you're opening up to the consciousness all around you, that you're in mind, not that you have a mind, but you're in mind. Try and sit completely still. And then coming back to the weight of your body on the cushions or the chair. Okay, so in a moment we'll go and have a cup of tea. In the second half of the class I want to talk more about this devotional sense and see if we can experience it a bit more deeply. But for now let's just go and have a cup of tea.
Some of that age,
Yeah.
there used to be competitions on back of cereal packets where you had to say something in no more than 12 words.
Oh yes,
Do you remember
yeah.
that? I don't know why. I always think, if I had to say no more than 12 words, and it's the people, it's the teaming
the aircon's on, so you might want to get a blanket for your blanket. Get some parts of the room get cool, and parts will get hot. So yeah, we'll start the second half with another meditation. So yeah, once you come in, set yourself up for meditation. Sorry? Yeah, a little bit, yeah, but I'll explain all that. Okay, so setting yourself up for meditation. And as soon as you're ready, closing your eyes. As soon as you closed your eyes, bring your attention again back down to the weight of your body on the ground. Just see if you can have this sense that as soon as you do that, as soon as you close your eyes, your whole system starts to just quieten down again. That we become immediately more embodied, less kind of heady and abstracted. And we do that not by trying to stop thoughts, but by just, as it were, turning up the sensations of the body, feeling the body more strongly. And you can help yourself relax just now by softening your belly. We very often grip our belly without really noticing it. See if you can let go of your shoulders. We're often gripping our shoulders without noticing it. See if you can soften your eyes and your brow.
Just see if you can just follow your breath. So you're just still trying to let go, relax. Nothing much to do here. Nothing really to achieve. Your weight still dropping down. And you can include your breath. So your whole system is calming down, quietening down. And then come back to the weight of your body on the cushions. Come back to this sense of your weight dropping down through the ground. opening your eyes and coming out of the meditation. Okay, so just sit comfortably again. Yeah, so I want to say a bit more about this devotional sense, and then we'll see if we can experience it more deeply. As I said, the idea of meditating without that sense is sort of peculiarly kind of modern, really. So I want to try to help people to get back in touch with that. And as I say, probably the simplest way to understand it is that very, very basic sense that my life is part of something infinitely greater than me. Yeah? And you can see how all sorts of religious theories come out of that, some of them helpful ways of exploring that experience, and some of them unhelpful ways of exploring that experience. But the experience is real. Yeah? People throughout time, across all cultures, have felt themselves to be participating in a universe that's much greater than them. That embodies value. Yeah, that's what human beings, until pretty recently, historically, have always had a background feeling of. Yeah, we've decided all that sort of silly superstitious stuff, and it can become silly superstitious stuff, and can become even unhelpful, harmful. But we tend to be far too sort of heady. Yeah. What we need, us westernized people, is much more heart, especially if we're going to meditate. I'm very more and more struck. I'm meeting more and more people who are learning to meditate through apps and so on. When I learned to meditate, as I always joke, before the steam age, nobody. I'd never meditated before. I never knew anybody who'd meditated before. I didn't know anything about Buddhism. I didn't know anybody who knew anything about Buddhism. Whereas nowadays, newcomers to meditation are quite rare. Nearly everyone's done, Headspace or Sam Harris or something. And what that means is people are learning in a very ad hoc way, a bit of this, a bit of that. And that's interesting for a while, but it soon doesn't take you very far. Yeah? And what we need, I think, is to go back to a much more, as it were, traditional approach where, first of all, you want to get in touch with this sense that there's something really valuable going on in the universe. I'm part of something infinitely bigger than me, and my instinct to that, even if I don't know what it is, and even if I'm unsure about that instinct, my instinct for that is to feel devotional. Yeah. And being at the Mahabodhi temple, it was palpable, that sense of devotion. Yeah. Now, I would say there's many reasons, but there's 3 reasons at least why we don't feel that anymore. One is that westernized people have become very, very heady. And that's been exacerbated by our screen life. So we're living in a highly constructed, highly cerebral, cognitive way, which is historically very, very unusual and weird and modern. Yeah. So that kind of distances us from our instincts, from our subtler feelings, from our bodies. Yeah, we're living more and more of us distanced, even alienated from the body, from feelings, from intuitions, and so on. Yeah. The second reason you might say is because we're increasingly living out of contact with the natural world. Again, we're some of the first generations to be living so far out of contact with nature. The furthest you can get away from Bodh Gaya is not as far on the planet. All you need to do is go to Westfield, and you sort of couldn't get further away from Bodh Gaya. Westfield is all about you. It's all about utility. It's all about you getting something. When you go there, you feel your soul is being nibbled away, don't you? I can last about half an hour before I have to run screaming out of the place. So one of the reasons why we don't have this basic animistic sense is really what I'm talking about. And many philosophers, contemporary philosophers and thinkers and scientists and so on, are talking about the need to re-enchant the world and to rediscover animism and so on. You're not going to be able to rediscover animism in Westfield, I can tell you. When you think about it, everything in Westfield is constructed. Even the breeze isn't breeze. Everything is, man-made, as it were. So we're living incredibly removed from the natural world and from the rhythms of the natural world. And human beings have never done that before. We're the first human beings to do it. Even things like electric lighting is very, very recent. So we're living alienated from the natural world, which is also alienated from the natural world in us, of us. That's why, I don't know whether you feel this, but that's why Westfield has that effect on you. You feel that it's alienating you even further. The modern position is, scrolling through Instagram in Westfield. You're like triply alienated, from the world. Yeah? So that might be a second reason. The other reason I was thinking is that modern westernized people are scornful of beauty. We like sort of a sort of chic nihilism, but we're sort of scornful of beauty. The whole idea of beauty has been much criticised. But when you go on and on about India as if you've never been, but going to India, what struck me most, it's brutal, it's filthy, it's everything, but it's so pretty. There's so much colour, there's so much beauty. Even amongst all that poverty, there's an incredible beauty. People living in these little shacks and they just paint them bright blue, and they put a pink curtain up. You come back to England, and we've just come back from a funeral. Look at us, we're all like, I think I can see one slightly brighter colour. Otherwise, no one's risking it. It's like we all want to chic. I don't colour. Just a little moment of it. So those are some of the reasons why I think we've lost this devotional sense. We've lost touch with our body, the nature in us, and with our deeper feelings and intuitions. We've become hyper-analytical. So many people I talk to, the issue is really they're just overthinking things all the time, which we now do habitually and automatically. We're distanced from nature, which human beings have effectively never been before. So we don't have any sense of the natural rhythms of things. One of the lovely things about being on retreat is getting back in touch with nature. I was on a solitary retreat this year for a month, and just being able to sit outside and watch it go dark and the moon rise, without any lights on and with the stars coming out. We've lost those very basic things. We don't really even notice that we've lost them. And as I say, I think we're weirdly ironical about beauty. The only beauty we really worship now is the beauty of celebrities and so on. We've lost our feeling for the value of beauty, and therefore we've lost it in touch with this animistic sense. Yeah, it's there all around you all the time if you just pay attention to it. The other day I just walked to the park with a friend, and as soon as you see the lake and even the Victoria Park Lake, with these geese and the light on it, it's all there if you open your eyes to it, but not if we're on a phone all the time, which we all are, including myself. The main place that you experience what I'm trying to get at, which, as I say, is a kind of animistic sense that you're part of something much bigger than yourself. Because as soon as you worship yourself, you make yourself ill, basically. You're not supposed to worship yourself. It's very bad for you. The place I most experience a genuine sense of this animism, because there's lots of people talking about it, but even that can easily be weirdly theoretical, the main place is on retreat. When you're on retreat, we've got this spring retreat coming up. You've got lots of time. You're not on your phone. There's silent periods. You can just sit and look at the trees around you. It's very beautiful around there. It's a very simple landscape, but we've taken quite a lot of care to make sure that the retreat centre is always in relationship to the natural world. You're meditating a lot, so you're just much more open to things. You sort of slightly start to step out of this terrible westernized irony and superiority. And you start to feel that things are more alive, quite naturally, without it being a kind of theoretical thing. A friend of mine was into tree hugging a while ago, and you think, oh dear, if you're not careful, you just try and crack, with your westernized kind of I want to get things attitude. You think, I now want to get animism, so I'll just run out and hug a tree. They don't like it. And they'd rather you lay the hell off. So the place I've most experienced this kind of animistic sense, this sense of the universe being more, is on retreat. So, and you'll find that on retreat, this sense of devotion, of bhakti, of worship, of reverence, which sounds a bit grandiose, but when you go to Bodh Gaya, the other striking thing is it's so kind of natural, almost casual, not in a Western casual way, which is sort of, I can't be bothered, but because it's just like that's what you do. You worship stuff, And, these Tibetan monks, they were chanting much better than we were. They were chanting these beautiful chants, and then in the break they'd just be chatting to each other and messing about a bit, and then they just go back to chanting it. There wasn't this sort of weird, like, now I'm being a bit religious and having a religious moment. Now I'm being casual. They just sort of move very naturally and very easily between these moods. And we westernized people have lost touch with that. And we're poorer for it. Yeah, We're richer for some things, for technology, for even our critical sense, which is very important because you don't want to teach irrationalism because that's very dangerous. Reason is extremely important, but one of the things about reason is knowing the limits of reason. You can't go and listen to a symphony and just analytically reason it in your head, or even go and watch a film, or even hear a story. You sort of know that this is not a place for that. You just want to go with it now. Yeah? You don't want to think, yeah, but hang on. The whole point of watching a film is you just go with it. I went to see Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, oh dear. It's not intellectually top-heavy. But, you have to think, look, it's that kind of film. You paid the money. You have to just go with it. It's no good thinking, sitting there feeling... Anyway, so what I want to do now, which we did last week, we're going to do some devotional practice. So we're going to together perform the sevenfold puja. And what I'll do, like I did last week, I'll say the verses, and then you just say them back to me. And you don't have to if you don't want to, but there's not much, you'll be fine. It's not going to alter your genetic structure or something. It's just like pretend, don't make a big deal of it. Don't deep it, as my daughter says. Don't deep it, you just say the words back. We'll go through these 7 stages. Vandana Joshi, would you lead the mantra at the end? Vandana Joshi will lead the Shakyamuni mantra at the end. And then we'll do the mantra. See if you can get into the mantra. You actually need to do this, folks. You'll be fine. See if you can get into the mantra. Don't just sort of grumble along with it. And then the mantra will then die down. As the mantra dies down, when you feel the mantra dying down, make sure you're sitting in a way that you can sit completely still and not move at all. Yeah. So traditionally, what happens? The mantra dies down, and you just go into a period of meditation. And this is much more like, the reason I'm doing this, I'm going to do it next week as well, whether you like it or not. The reason I'm doing this is much more like how Buddhist meditation was taught. If you're in a Tibetan monastery, you would do mostly actually chanting. In fact, they go too far, there's hardly any meditation at all. But mostly meditation was always set within a devotional context. In other words, first of all, you're trying to get your heart and your body and your voice and your sense of something more than you involved in an imaginative way. Do that for a bit. You chant the mantra. You use your energy a bit, and then you just sit completely still and you don't do anything. You don't even try and meditate. You just sit completely still, and you just sort of fall into this sort of wonderful silence at the end of the mantra. Should we have the air? Does it turn off the air? Come on, let's have it turned off, because I think it's getting. It's very difficult to get the heat in this room quite at the right level. So what I'm going to do is very briefly tell you what the meaning of at least how far do I want to go? The first 4 stages of a puja, and then next week I'll tell you about the rest. Yeah. So it starts with a worship section, and I'm very struck. This sevenfold puja. It's based in a. We won't do it just yet. So sit comfortably from it. It's based in a 8th century Tibetan text by a Tibetan saint called Shantideva, and it starts with worship, which I'm very struck by. It starts with this devotional sense. Yeah, the whole of any religious sense, any spiritual sense, any sense that life has got more to it, starts with this sense of I'm part of something bigger. So the worship section is supposed to just be like the first glimpse of that. I'm part of something infinitely bigger than myself. So I don't need to worry about myself and all that sort of stuff. There's much more important stuff, and I can worship that. Traditionally, it's said to be like the first glimpse of a mountain. You have these days like we've been having in England where it's all grey all the time, and suddenly the clouds clear and you suddenly see there is actually a mountain. And that worship section is supposed to represent that basic sense of there is much more to life. Yeah, there's much more to life than random particles and all that sort of nonsense. Yeah, which even scientists don't believe in. Then the next section is called salutation, which means that you traditionally you bow to that sense. You salute it. You say, "That's great. It's great that there is a larger meaning and purpose to life. That's what I want. That's what I really need." Yeah. The third section is called Going for Refuge, which is what I based my meditation challenge on. And this is saying, okay, I've seen there's something much bigger to life. I've seen there is a transcendental ideal. I actually really feel attracted to it. And going for refuge just means, okay, I'm now going to consciously change in accordance with it. I'm going to traverse the space between me and the mountain. Yeah, I want to go to the mountain. So you see the mountain, you see how beautiful it is, or how much bigger than you it is. And then in the Going for Refuge section, what that symbolizes, and you won't necessarily get this from the words, but what that symbolizes is you're going to move towards it. That's what you're going to do. That's the important thing, is to go towards those kind of great values. And then we have this confession section, which really does remind you of religion, at least for some of us. And all that means is when you try and move towards your ideals, you notice all the things that hold you back. You notice your meanness, your pettiness, your egocentricity, and your instinct is you want to get rid of all that. That's what confession means. Yeah, that you see an ideal, you want to move towards an ideal. As soon as you try and move towards an ideal, you realise all this stuff that's holding you back. It's very natural, very ordinary human states of mind that this ritual is going through. So I'll say a bit more about it next week. So we'll just recite them. They're very short verses in call and response. Vajana Joshi will start the mantra. Then we'll chant, and then when the mantra dies down, let's see if we can not move a muscle, that we just sit then in silence. And that experience of that silence, which is traditionally when the devas come and make their offerings, and devas are like spirits of the air, in that silence, that's much more like a taste of meditation, much more than this sort of technique-y, what do I do next sort of thing that we Westerners are doing. Yeah. So let's have a go at that. And remember, it's an as-if practice. You're not worshipping God, you're not worshipping trees, you're just imagining a world in which there is transcendental meaning, and that you want to move towards that. After the meditation at the end, what we'll do is we'll leave the room in silence. And if you want to, we put lots of sticks of incense at the front here. If you want to, as you leave, you can just light a stick of incense and bow to the shrine. But we can start talking once we've left the room. But we'll go into meditation, I'll ring a bell, you can put your cushions and mats away when you're ready, and if you want to make an offering, you can. And then we can talk once we get outside. So first of all, establishing yourself again in your body. Bringing your attention to the weight of your body on the ground, on the cushions or on the chair. The sevenfold puja, firstly worship. With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With Mandarava, blue lotus and jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
I pay honour to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000,000,000 worlds.
In the 1,000,000,000,000 worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Siddharma.
To the Siddharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day.
This very day.
I go for my refuge.
I go for my refuge.
To the powerful protectors.
To the powerful protectors.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
Whose purpose is to guard the universe.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
The mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge.
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
In the Dharma they have ascertained,
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
Likewise in the host of bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up
The evil that I have heaped up
through my ignorance and foolishness,
through my ignorance and foolishness,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence,
all that I acknowledge to the protectors,
all that I acknowledge to the protectors,
standing before them,
standing before them,
with hands raised in reverence,
with hands raised in reverence,
and terrified of suffering.
and terrified of suffering.
I pay salutations again and again.
I pay salutations again and again.
May the leaders receive this kindly,
May the leaders receive this kindly,
just as it is with its many faults.
just as it is with its many faults.
What is not good, O protectors,
What is not good, O protectors,
I shall not do again.
I shall not do again.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight
I rejoice with delight
in the good done by all beings,
in the good done by all beings,
through which they obtain rest,
through which they attain rest,
with the end of suffering.
with the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings
I rejoice in the release of beings
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
and the Buddha,
and the Buddha,
who are protectors.
who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
and the teaching,
and the teaching,
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings,
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands,
Saluting them with folded hands,
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma
for those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
for those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence,
With hands folded in reverence,
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages,
May they remain here for endless ages,
so that life in this world does not grow dark.
so that life in this world does not grow dark.
Transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained
May the merit gained
in my acting thus
in my acting thus
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
My personality throughout my existences,
My personality throughout my existences,
my possessions,
my possessions,
and my merit in all three ways.
and my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself,
I give up without regard to myself,
for the benefit of all beings.
for the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements
Just as the earth and other elements
are serviceable in many ways
are serviceable in many ways
to the infinite number of beings,
to the infinite number of beings,
inhabiting limitless space.
inhabiting limitless space.
So may I become.
So may I become
That which maintains all beings.
that which maintains all beings,
Situated throughout space.
situated throughout space,
So long as all have not attained
so long as all have not attained
to peace.
to peace.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni
Sit still.